Carmen Baca taught high school and college English for 36 years before retiring in 2014. As a Chicana and Norteña native in New Mexico, she keeps her culture's traditions alive through regionalism to prevent them from dying completely. She's the author of 6 books and over 80 short publications from prose to poetry in a variety of genres. Over to you, Carmen.
Thank you. Bella couldn't have known foraging in the attic of her grandmother's house for something to read would lead her into a most extraordinary world. Thinking maybe she could find something there, she had climbed the tall ladder standing against the side of the adobe house and entered the hot space. Her parents used the place for storage now, and they had been going through some of the contents to keep or to give away. She stood without moving to avoid raising dust from the dirt-covered floor and waited for her eyes to adjust. Dingy cloths covered a few large objects to investigate later, but a metal trunk against the back wall caught her eye. It was the most likely place books would be stored. She walked over, lifted the heavy lid all the way back, and moved a few items aside. Spotting a stack of what looked like photo albums on the bottom, Bella reached in. She lifted up the first one as she sat on the corner of the trunk. She opened the album, prepared to be entertained. She didn't expect to fall in like Alice down the rabbit hole. One moment she was looking at a picture of a delightful valley. In the next, the peaceful scene had pulled her in and she tumbled onto the carpet of green at the bank of a shallow stream. Bella sat up and looked cautiously around. She surprised herself at her lack of alarm. It felt almost natural that she was here in this place where her grandmother had been at one time. The photo album was hers, after all. Bella pitched herself to see if she was awake and then started to panic a little. If she was awake, how? Where? The questions started one after the other, and then they were gone, just gone. Curiosity replaced alarm, and concern for her safety went out the ventana. She took walks into the woods alone at the ranch all the time without giving bears or bobcats a second thought. Smoke wafted over the trees and narrow trails here and there, so she knew there had to be houses with wood stoves or fireplaces, though she saw none. She saw no one at all. So she rose and brushed grass off her clothes, and she pulled a ribbon from her pants pocket and tied her long hair into a ponytail. She turned in a slow circle. The sun was high in the sky, so she knew she had hours of daylight to explore. She looked around. How much like the ranch it was. Then again, woods were woods. So were pastures. They were bound to look familiar. She started through the meadow of tall wheatgrass, brushing against her jeans up to her knees. She listened for any sound which would indicate people might be nearby. Perhaps following the water would lead her to a village? Something? She hoped to find someone to pepper with the questions she had about where she was, how it was possible she was here at all, what year, what language. So many ran through her mind. Now she could find someone. Rounding a bend brought a surprise. A woman with long black hair and wearing a white dress soaked to her knees was walking in the center of a shallow river up to her calves. Her shoulders were slumped and she was shaking her head slowly back and forth as though pondering something heavy on her heart. A small sob followed. "Excuse me, dispensame," Bella asked as she approached the lady. "Is there something I can do for you?" The woman stopped sobbing and began moving her head in a slow but deliberate turn toward Bella. Her hair hung in tangled waves down her back. The strands framing her face were white, however, and concealed some of her features. The part Bella could see showed a great sadness had befallen the poor woman and left the one eye without hope and a mouth with the crease of a frown, as though she had forgotten how to smile. "I have lost my children," she spoke, almost too soft to hear. "Mis niños se desaparecieron en el agua. My babies disappeared into the water. I keep searching and I walk in every stream I find and long for the day I will find them again." "Oh, I'm so sorry," Bella cried. She looked into the water, clear and flowing over and around rocks of varied sizes. The woman started moving through the stream again. Bella, trailing on the grassy bank, was focused on the water and didn't notice the ease by which the woman walked without losing her balance on the slippery, round rocks. A normal person would be roving in a Frankenstein mimicry, flailing arms and all over such obstacles beneath the water. "I am doomed to look for them forever," the woman moaned. "How long have you searched for them?" "I do not know," the weeping woman replied. "Time is meaningless here." "How do you know they're in this stream? Did you see them slip in?" The woman stopped walking and turned her face toward Bella once more. "I know they are in the water," she said. I do not know that they are in this particular stream, and so I search for every body of water I find. But because I drowned them, the woman roared. She turned all the way then, her fists clenching at her sides. She tossed her long hair away from her face, and Bella saw the other eye, clouded with a white film as though blinded. The cheek over the mouth to the side was open and a ragged-edged wound. It left her gums and teeth exposed in a caricature of a spectral smile. And if I cannot find my babies, I will be content to replace them with another, she growled and started toward Bella. No longer in the water, she glided on top of it fast. Bella's ear-piercing scream echoed through the valley long after she sprinted as far away from the wet river as she could. Sometime later, after she'd calmed down, she came across a trickle of water and bent down to wipe the scratches on her face where the blood had dried and had started to itch. If she could bleed, she could well suffer a worse injury here. Knowing La Llorona could take her to some unknown place to replace one of her children meant she had better grow eyes in the back of her head. She had to make sure to avoid those who might do her harm. Yeah, she said aloud. If I knew where they lurked, that would help. She cupped her hand and drank a bit of water before standing and looking around her. The forest was dense here, the trees close together with ferns and moss beneath due to the moisture and constant shade. The humid atmosphere foreign and stuffy. As she started forward once more, Bella saw the water was coming from a dark green patch and realized it was a spring. Came from somewhere close. Hello, she called. She spied some movement up ahead where a forest turned darker in its density. Something moved horizontally to the left, and she stepped forward where she assumed it had disappeared. When she got there, she noticed the ferns and other greenery had been flattened as though something heavy had been dragged over them. Spotting a fallen log up ahead, Bella saw something lacy caught on the bark, material of a pale gray color like a long shawl someone had lost. She bent to retrieve it and then realized it wasn't a manta at all. It wasn't even cloth. It was translucent with an almost diamond-shaped pattern, larger toward the middle and more close together at each end. She rubbed a piece between two fingers, which was when she recognized it as something she had seen before at the zoo. It was snakeskin. Shed skin about 2 feet, maybe more in width. It was longer than she was tall, and she felt fingers of ice to run up her spine. The sound in front of her sent Bella reeling off to the right, like a missile without direction. As she ran, she risked one look behind her, and when she turned again, she collided with a smack into something solid. And we leave Bella there for the next few adventures.